I stood in the hallway of my house in Chico, California, the dim light of an August evening in 2024, filtering through the window, casting a glow on the bedroom door that had just been slammed shut in front of me. I was Ellen Fargus, 6 years old, a baking instructor at the community center, and I had spent 15 years raising Liam, my husband David's son from a previous marriage, as if he were my own. Since he was 7, with big eyes and a shy smile, I had taught him how to bake chocolate chip cookies, taken him to soccer practice, and held him at night when he cried for his biological mother. I believed I was his mother, not by blood, but through the love I poured into every breakfast, every bedtime story, and every pair of soccer cleats I bought with my savings. But that day when I had just received my breast cancer diagnosis, my body too weak to even stand, I called out to Liam now, 22, from the living room. "Liam, come in here, I need to talk to you." He walked in tall and slender, his hair messy and with a cold look in his eyes. I had never seen before, I whispered. "Liam, I have cancer. I need you by my side just for a little while." He stood there, hands in his pockets, then cut me off, his voice sharp as a knife. "You're not my mother, Ellen. I don't owe you anything. I have a girlfriend, a job in Sacramento. Stop interfering with my life." Then he turned, slammed the door, the sound ripping through my heart, leaving me lying in bed, breath heavy, feeling like 15 years of love had vanished in a single cruel sentence. I clutched the blanket tightly, tears streaming down my face, not from anger, but from the pain of a mother being rejected by the child she loved more than herself. I thought of my grandmother who raised me in a small house in Chico, who once said, "Ellen, love is a gift you give away, but strength is something you keep for yourself, even when no one gives it back." Her words were like a light in the darkness. I whispered, my voice trembling but firm. "Liam, you're wrong, completely wrong, and I will live not to prove anything to you, but to prove that I deserve my own love, that I can stand even with a broken heart." I didn't call him back, didn't knock on his door. Instead, I picked up the phone and called Maria, my best friend and the owner of Morning Glow Cafe, which I had helped open 5 years ago. "Maria, I need to see you right away. Liam just left me while I'm sick, and I need a reason to keep going. I want to open a bakery to reclaim myself." Maria replied instantly, her voice warm. "Ellen, come to my cafe, bring your strong heart. We're going to do this, and Liam will regret underestimating you." I stood up, wiped my tears, and looked at the photo of my grandmother on the wall. Her silver hair and gentle smile reminding me of the resilience she passed on to me. I thought of the mornings baking with Liam, how he used to laugh when flour covered his face, and told myself I'm going to do this, not just for me, but for the other women who are fighting like I am. Have you ever poured all your love into someone only for them to turn away when you were at your weakest, as if you never existed in their life? I've been there, and I was shattered. But what I did next left all of Chico in shock. The cracks between Liam and me didn't appear overnight. They crept in long ago, like the smell of something burning in the oven. You try to ignore, hoping the cake can still be saved. When I met David, Liam was just 7 years old, a quiet boy living with his father after his biological mother died in a car accident. I loved David, a structural engineer with a gentle smile, and I loved Liam too, from the very first time he held my hand in Bidwell Park and asked in a timid voice, "Miss Ellen, can you bake chocolate chip cookies?" I became his mother, not by title, but with all my heart. I helped him with math, took him to soccer tournaments, and when kids teased him for not having a mom, I sat beside him and said, "Liam, I'm here and I'll always be here." When David died of a stroke when Liam was 14, I stayed in Chico, turning down an offer to teach baking in San Francisco because I wanted Liam to have a stable home. I taught at the community center, used my salary to pay for his college tuition, and every evening I still baked cookies, hoping the smell would draw him closer to me. But when Liam started college in Sacramento, he changed. He became distant, came home less often, and when I suggested we bake together like before, he scoffed. "Ellen, I'm not a kid anymore. Stop forcing me to do that stuff." I thought he was just trying to find himself like most young people do. So I let it go. Still sent him money, still called to check in. The signs became clearer when he started calling me Ellen instead of Mom. And once I overheard him talking to a friend on the phone during a visit home. She thinks I should be grateful, but I already had a real mom, and I don't need her. Those words cut deep, but I told myself he was just angry that time would heal things. My grandmother once said, "Ellen, love doesn't buy gratitude, but you must protect your heart from wounds that don't deserve it." Those words woke me up. I began to note down every time Liam acted coldly, saved his emails, and moved my savings into a separate account, not because I didn't trust him, but because I could feel that one day I might need to stand alone. I remember one evening when Liam came home. I baked chocolate chip cookies, hoping he'd sit down like he used to. But he just grabbed one, said, "Thanks, Ellen," and went straight to his room. I stood in the kitchen staring at the oven, thinking about the years I'd sacrificed, wondering if I'd been wrong to love him so much. But I shook my head and whispered, "I'm not wrong. I just loved, and love is never wrong. But I need to be stronger." I opened my notebook and wrote a line. The day I saw the cracks, I began preparing not for revenge, but to protect myself. Have you ever felt someone you love slowly drifting away, but still hoped they'd come back, only to realize they had already chosen to leave? I've been there, and I was shattered, but the secret I discovered hurt more than I ever imagined. The breast cancer diagnosis hit like a storm, but Liam's words were even crueler, like a knife straight to the heart. After he slammed the door, I lay in bed, my body aching, but my mind spinning. I thought about the nights I stayed up taking care of him when he had a fever, the mornings I drove him to tournaments, the way I saved every penny so he could go to college debt-free. But he called me lady, said I wasn't his mother, and left when I needed him most. I drove through oak-lined streets to Morning Glow Cafe, Maria's little warm corner in downtown Chico, filled with the scent of roasted coffee and toasted bread. Maria had once been my student at the community center. A single mother, I helped start the cafe by lending her $5,000 and teaching her how to bake sweets to sell. I sat at the counter, the hanging light casting a glow on my tired face, and told her about Liam, about how he abandoned me, about how the words, "You're not my mom," kept echoing in my head. "Maria, I need your help," I said, my voice shaking but full of resolve. "I have cancer, Liam left me, and I don't want to fall apart. I want to open a bakery, not just to make money, but to prove I still matter, that I can thrive even with a broken heart." Maria held my hand, her eyes lighting up. "Ellen, you saved me when I had nothing, when I thought I'd never get back up. Now I'll help you. I have a small space next to the cafe. You can use it for the bakery. But what will you do if Liam comes back? Will you forgive him?" I smiled, though my heart still felt heavy. "Maria, if Liam comes back, I'll show him how well his mother lived, not through blame, but with a bakery that the whole of Chico will talk about. A place that doesn't just sell pastries, but spreads the love I once gave to him." But the crisis didn't end there. A week later, I heard a rumor from a neighbor, Mrs. Carter, that Liam was telling people I was faking illness, to make him stay in Chico, that I was clinging to him for sympathy. Mrs. Carter spoke gently. "Ellen, Liam's been telling people that he has to take care of you even though you're not his real mom, and that all he wants is his freedom." I stood on my porch, gripping the railing, feeling betrayed all over again. I called Maria immediately. "Maria, Liam is slandering me, making people think I'm weak and pitiful. I need to open the bakery fast, so Chico can see I didn't fall, so Liam can see he was wrong." Maria replied over the phone, her voice firm. Ellen, I've contacted a small sponsor to help you get the equipment. You prepare the recipes. I'll handle the permits and promotion. You're stronger than Liam thinks, and we'll prove it. Inside, I was still struggling. I thought about the years I'd sacrificed for Liam, giving up my dream of teaching baking in the big city to stay in Chico, wondering if I was wrong to believe he'd love me the way I loved him. But then I remembered a moment, Liam at 10 hugging me after a soccer game, saying, "Mom, I love you." Those words, though, distant now, remained my anchor. I returned home, opened my notebook, and wrote, "The day I found an ally, I knew I wasn't alone, and I would turn this pain into light." Do you think someone you love can hurt you deeper than a stranger, just because they know how to touch the deepest wounds? I used to believe that, but what I found in Liam's email stunned me even more. I returned home after meeting Maria, sat in the living room, opened my laptop, and reviewed the old emails between me and Liam, hoping to understand why he changed. In a misdirected email from 2 months ago, Liam wrote to a friend instead of me. "Ellen is sick, but I don't care. She thinks I have to stay in Chico because she raised me. But I have a girlfriend and a job in Sacramento. I'm not coming back, and she can't force me." I was stunned rereading every word, feeling like the blood in my body froze. But that wasn't all. I found a social media post from Liam in a college friends group saying that I depended on him to gain pity, that I was faking illness to make him stay. My inner monologue exploded. Liam thinks I'm weak, thinks I'll crumble because of cancer, and his words thinks I'll beg him to come back. But he doesn't know I taught him how to ride a bike. Doesn't know I stayed up late baking to pay his tuition. Doesn't know I gave him my whole heart, like he was my own child. He wants to leave me. I'll open a bakery and I'll turn it into a community center where women can learn to bake for free, to show him that my love is greater than his selfishness, to show Chico that I'm not just surviving, I'm shining. I sent Maria the misdirected email and a screenshot of the post with a note. "Maria, this is the truth about Liam. I want the bakery, Ellen's Sweet Haven, not only to sell pastries, but to become a free baking training place for disadvantaged women, from single mothers to those who lost their jobs. I want Chico to see that I didn't fall, and for Liam to see he was wrong." Maria called back immediately, her voice excited. "Ellen, the idea of a community center is a hit. I'll help you fundraise from local businesses, and I know a few women who want to join your class. Get those recipes ready, because the whole town of Chico is going to talk about Sweet Haven." I nodded, feeling like a warrior preparing for battle. Even though I was still anxious inside, I thought about my grandmother, about how she overcame hardship to raise me, and told myself, I'll do this for her, for the women I want to help, and for myself, because I know my worth. I began preparing these recipes, choosing signature items like the chocolate chip cookies Liam used to love. But now I wasn't making them for him. I was making them for the community. I imagined my bakery, the scent of fresh-baked goods, wafting through the air, women chatting and laughing in class, and a sign that read, "Ellen's Sweet Haven, where love blooms." But I still worried whether Chico would embrace me, or if they would believe Liam's words that I was weak. I remembered one evening when my grandmother sat with me and said, "Ellen, your light will shine, but you have to light it yourself." Her words were like a breeze that swept away my fear. I opened my notebook and wrote, "The day I learned the truth." I decided not just to survive, but to create a legacy. Have you ever uncovered a truth so deep it made you want to change the world? Not for revenge, but because you knew you deserved a better life. I stood at that doorstep, and my bakery was closer than I thought. Ellen's Sweet Haven opened on a small street corner in Chico, with a cream-painted storefront and large glass windows where the scent of toasted bread and chocolate chip cookies drifted out to the sidewalk. I spent 3 months preparing not just to sell pastries, but to launch a free baking training program for women in need, from single mothers to those who lost their jobs during the pandemic. On opening day, I wore a blue apron, stood behind an oak counter with chandelier light shining down on neatly arranged trays of pastries. The place was packed from children holding balloons to curious housewives. I stepped onto a small platform, held a microphone, my voice trembling but strong. "Everyone, I'm Ellen, a baking teacher, and this is Ellen's Sweet Haven. My son Liam left me when I had cancer. Said I wasn't his mother. Today I'm announcing that Sweet Haven is not just a bakery, it's a community center where women can learn to bake for free so they can rise just like I am today." The crowd applauded, some wiped away tears, and Maria, standing in the corner, gave me a thumbs up. I looked across the crowd and saw Liam standing at the door, eyes wide in panic, hands in his pockets. He didn't expect me to pull it off. Didn't expect all of Chico to show up. I didn't confront him, didn't call him in. I just smiled and kept serving, handing a tray of chocolate chip cookies to a little girl skipping around. An elderly woman. Mrs. Thompson held my hand. "Ellen, you make me proud. I'll sign up for your baking class." I nodded, feeling like my heart had grown lighter, like I had found myself again. After the grand opening, Maria hugged me. "Ellen, you did it." Liam has nothing left to say. I left the bakery, my eyes proud, knowing I hadn't just opened a shop. I'd laid the foundation for something bigger. I thought about my grandmother, about how she always believed love could change lives. And I told myself, "Grandma, I'm doing this for you and I won't stop." Do you believe that love can be stronger than rejection, even when it comes from someone you love the most? I did it, and I knew I was right. But what I did after the opening was what made Liam truly regret everything. Leaving the bakery, I walked to Bidwell Park, where big oak trees cast shade over the green lawn. I sat under an oak tree, letting the tears fall. Not out of anger at Liam, but from the sadness of realizing he was no longer the boy who once hugged me after soccer games, who once called me Mom with a bright smile. I thought of my grandmother, of her words. "Ellen, your light will shine, but you have to light it yourself, even when no one sees it." Her words were like a breeze sweeping away my pain. I thought about the years I sacrificed for Liam, giving up my dream of teaching baking in the big city to stay in Chico, only to receive rejection in return. But I didn't want to hold on to that pain. I took a notebook from my bag and wrote a letter to myself. "Ellen, you don't need Liam to shine. Don't need his approval to know your worth. You've opened Sweet Haven, and now you're going to turn it into a community center, not just to sell pastries, but to help women find their light, just like you are." That act, simple yet powerful, was a turning point that helped me heal. The next day, I met Maria at her coffee shop, where the smell of baked bread mixed with the sound of customers' laughter. "Maria, I want Sweet Haven to teach 50 women to bake for free this year," I said, my voice full of determination. "I want them to learn not just skills, but how to rise after pain like I did. Liam will see that my love is bigger than his selfishness." Maria hugged me, beaming. "Ellen, that's the most beautiful revenge I've ever heard, turning his rejection into a gift for the community. I'll help you find students and funding. Are you ready to change, Chico?" I nodded, feeling a new strength, as if I had just found myself after the storm. I thought about all the times I doubted myself, the nights. I wondered if I was wrong to love Liam so much. But now, looking at the plans for Sweet Haven, with the first baking class about to begin, I knew I had chosen right. I stood in front of the mirror, looked into my own eyes, and whispered, "Grandma, I'm doing this for you, for women like me, and for myself." I opened my notebook and wrote, "The day I healed, I found purpose, not just for me, but for the world." Have you ever turned your pain into a gift for others, not to prove anything, but because you knew it was the right thing to do? I did. And it led me somewhere I never expected. Ellen's Sweet Haven quickly became the heart of Chico. In the first year, we trained 50 women from single mothers like Clara, who opened a small pastry stall, to those who had lost their jobs, like Sarah, who found joy again through the baking classes. Liam returned to Chico 6 months after the opening, standing in front of the bakery, eyes filled with regret. He walked in, voice soft. "Ellen, I was wrong. I never thought you could do this. Never thought Sweet Haven would be this big. I'm sorry for leaving you, for saying those things." I looked at him, smiled, voice calm. "Liam, I don't need your apology. Sweet Haven is proof that I'm living well, not because of you, but because I know my worth. You used to be my light, but now I've found a greater light, and I share it with those in need." Liam bowed his head, tears falling, and turned away. I didn't feel triumphant, only relieved, as if I had let go of a burden. Local newspapers, from the Chico Enterprise to food magazines, praised Sweet Haven, calling it the flame of kindness. I received dozens of thank you letters from Clara, who wrote, "Ellen, thanks to you, I can feed my child without worry," to Sarah, who said, "You gave me a reason to keep living." I thought of my grandmother, of how she was always proud when I helped others, and imagined her smiling. Sweet Haven kept growing, with plans to open a branch in Sacramento in the next 3 years. I stood in the shop, watching women in the classes laugh and talk, and wrote in my notebook, "The day I built a legacy, I saw Grandma smile, and I knew I had won." Do you think justice can come from kindness, even when it starts from rejection? I've seen it, and it changed me forever. Sweet Haven expanded, training 500 women in 3 years, from Chico to nearby towns like Redding and Oroville. I organized free workshops, teaching baking skills and business planning. One trainee, Clara, came to me after a class, voice trembling, "Ellen, thanks to you, I opened a small bakery, and now my son can go to college. You're my inspiration." Those words were like a breeze, blowing away any remaining doubts. I hosted a large charity event at Bidwell Park, raising $200,000 to build free baking classrooms, with thousands attending, from kids painting their dreams to volunteers teaching women how to decorate cakes. Chico overflowed with my story, from local news to social media posts, calling me the woman who turned pain into hope. But it wasn't always smooth. A major donor criticized me for being too idealistic, saying I should focus on profits instead of free training. I listened, invited a nonprofit management expert to join, and Sweet Haven became stronger with clear procedures and a bigger team. I thought of my grandmother, of how she always helped others despite hardship. I began teaching kids to bake on weekends, and one little girl, Lily, said, "Miss Ellen, I want to be like you, helping people smile." Her words were like a star lighting up my path. I called Maria. "Maria, I want Sweet Haven to become a statewide symbol. Do you think we can do it?" Maria laughed. "Ellen, with your heart, nothing is impossible." I opened my notebook, wrote, "The day I spread the light, I saw the world shine brighter, and I knew I was living the dream my grandmother had for me." Do you believe a community can heal the deepest wounds, even those caused by someone you loved most? I've seen it, and it led me to a radiant future. 5 years after the opening, I stood on stage at a culinary conference in San Francisco, in front of thousands, from young chefs to women aspiring to start businesses. I wore a yellow dress, the color of the light. My grandmother said I carried within me and shared. My son Liam left me when I had cancer, said I wasn't his mother, but I opened Ellen's Sweet Haven, taught 500 women to bake, helped them rise from hardship. I didn't do it because of Liam, but because I knew my worth, because I wanted to live true to my grandmother's dream, who believed love is a flame that never goes out. The crowd applauded, and I saw tears glistening in many eyes. During the Q&A session, a young audience member, voice trembling, asked, "How do I keep living when I've been abandoned by family, when I feel invisible?" I looked at her, smiled. Do one kind thing, no matter how small, for someone who needs it. Each cake I taught was a small step. And now they've become a legacy. You too can light your own flame. The conference ended with applause. But the moment I'll always remember was when Clara from the small bakery hugged me and said, "Ellen, thanks to you, I just opened my second branch and I'm teaching other women to bake." I hugged her, feeling like I was embracing the whole world. Sweet Haven is now a statewide symbol with 10 branches, 200 volunteers, and a community culinary award. Liam lives quietly in Sacramento, sometimes sending apology letters. But I don't reply, not out of resentment, but because I found peace. I keep one of his misaddressed emails in a small frame with the words, "Your love is a light that no one can extinguish." At the 5-year anniversary of Sweet Haven, I said, "I used to think Liam defined my worth, but I define myself, and each of us has the right to light our own flame." I thought of my grandmother, of how she always believed in me, and imagined her smiling in the baking classes I lead. What will you do to let your love shine, even if it's not returned, and let your light brighten the world? I did it, and I know you can too.